And as the song goes on, every member is kind of throwing a little bit more into the pot, and it keeps your ears listening, and you're just constantly refocusing on a different instrument. And that's what makes this song fly by so fast, and it's packed with so much that you just want to go listen again. What's up, guys? Welcome back to Lifeson University. Today we are back with more Rush featuring the indelible Geddy Lee and his masterful bass work on this iconic instrumental track. YYZ, sometimes referred to as YYZ, is from their 1981 album Moving Pictures, featuring all the greatest hits, right? Tom Sawyer, Red Barchetta, the list goes on. This is my favorite Rush song. I want to talk about some of the nuances in the bass parts, some tips on playing them, a bit of music theory, and try to dissect the craziness going on in this song. So let's jump in. Rush, YYZ. Right off the bat. 5/4, Morse code, you know the drill. So this is obviously the Morse code for YYZ, Pearson International Airport in Toronto. But right off the bat, we're in 5/4. We're on a tritone going between C and F sharp. But one thing people kind of don't listen to too much is the synth behind it, because your ear is pulled in by the Morse code starting with Neil, and then Geddy and Alex are joining in, the tritone's building tension. But what's really interesting to me at a music theory level here is that the synth in the background is following an odd mode. It's following the C Locrian scale mostly. A Locrian scale holds a lot of tension. It is the 7th mode off of a major scale. Not to get into modes too much, but if you start at the root of a major scale, go up to the 7th degree, and then play a major scale starting there in the same key, that is the Locrian mode. It wants to resolve to C. So in this case, we're in C Locrian. It's building some tension, but those synths are clashing, and it's giving those Locrian vibes that just carry a lot of tension. And I never really noticed it until I really put the song under the microscope for this video. It's clashing. Minor seconds clashing. That synth holding on that C sharp while Alex and Geddy are playing. So right off the bat, tension. That rubbery bass tone. Woo! The one thing I want to say about this song, it never feels like it ever resolves. And sometimes as much tension as that intro built, you might think this groove right off the bat. It doesn't resolve there either, because you're still playing those major chords. We'll get to that in a second, but all in all, you know, this song should be an adult film called Modes Gone Wild. It literally is. It is breaking all of the rules music theory-wise. The intro, there's clashes, these runs up to the main riff, kind of don't resolve to anything either. I want to go back and listen to that. It's a lot of great unison craziness. That kind of thing there. It's all hovering in that kind of B and C, which sets it up for the later part of the song. I want to catch that again, and then we'll go and let it play a bit. This is a tough riff, too. That gritty, rubbery bass part. Opens up here. Man, it is just airtight pockets of incredible synchronicity between them. You know, this is more of a Geddy Neil song. Alex is kind of driving this whole other feel that keeps it kind of happy, kind of jovial. Then you have this like real funky prog kind of interplay between Geddy and Neil. It's always fascinated me just how tight every little hit is. And the toughest part about this song is there's so much variation that's very subtle within Geddy's parts. And we'll get into that as the song goes on as well. So let me break this part theory-wise down to you and a little bit on how I interpret it. So the song is kind of planing between B major and C major. Those two chords aren't in the same keys at all. So we're already breaking a lot of rules here. But really, you can do whatever you want in music. You know, they're not writing these songs like we got to be within the textbook of theory. No. You know, as artists, you write what sounds good. You write what you want to write. But it's fun to go back later and put this stuff under the microscope and try to ask yourself why. What was the genesis of this chord progression here? Because we're going between B major, and it really just doesn't fit, right? It keeps that unresolved tension the entire time. And I never really noticed that that same principle is actually extended earlier to this main riff. And some tips on playing this, you know, the reason this song sounds so funky is because Geddy Lee is varying his articulation quite a lot with the way he plays lines. You know, that opening riff even, if you were to do those first four notes, which that's the toughest part of the riff, to get those da-da-da-da, da-da-da-da. The technique of it's pretty hard. It's a little bit of raking, but you got to time it just right. But it would not sound like Geddy if you were to play them all the same length. So you almost have to cheat that second note and kind of give it that bounce. And the way to do that is to kind of let go of the fretting position, you know, depress the string to fret the note, but kind of let it go a little early before you attack it. You kind of cheat it. But that's kind of what funk bass playing is. You're kind of, you know, walking the tightrope of what's a ghost note and what's an actual full fretted note. And he kind of exudes that entire approach, the whole song, that kind of gives it that funky approach that doesn't sound so robotic. It has some bounce to it. You know, if you played them all straight, but if you kind of cheated one, the whole song kind of takes this character. So you can kind of let go of the string a little bit and get around that way. Let's keep going. Such a vintage, rubbery tone, man. I love this interplay. It's classic. Classic. You know, this whole track embodies a spirit of Rush. You know, they were all three powerhouses that added their own special ingredient to any song they made. This call and answer interplay between Geddy and Neil is one of the most iconic parts of the track for me. It steers it away from being a clinical, prog, technical piece and makes it feel like this open mic blues jam where you'd be at a smoky bar watching some musicians trade fours. It has that feel, but still embodies the, you know, heady, cerebral Rush spirit of the musicality going on. Then you add Alex's kind of reggae parts that just kind of come out of nowhere to kind of lighten it up, and you just have this like microcosm of wacky musicianship, insane musicianship, and the way it all gels together just creates one of the most unique instrumental tracks ever. This song has so much flair and character for being three people and three instruments, maybe four if you add the synth, but it's truly mind-blowing between the breaking all the rules of the theory, the blending of genre lines. This song has always just amazed me by like how big of a character it had. And as the song goes on, every member is kind of throwing a little bit more into the pot to keep it fresh. You know, Geddy will change a bass part a little bit. Alex will go from just plucking the chords. Now it's more of a reggae. Now it's faster on the third time. And it keeps your ears listening, and you're just constantly refocusing on a different instrument. And that's what makes this song fly by so fast, and it's packed with so much that you just want to go listen again. I can't remember the exact fingerings for this, but I know it's something like just the finesse, right? Jazzy finesse, and then it goes right back into these crazy percussive grooves. This is another one of those examples that embodies the same technique as the first part of the song, where you're kind of varying how you're fretting the note to kind of give it some bounce. You know, Geddy is very notorious for that really short articulation followed by really long articulation. It just gives it a very, almost like a horn section kind of character. I've always thought that about his playing. Being a trumpet player myself, I've always thought, you know, horn articulations, long, short, there's a lot of variation there. His bass playing, I've always kind of resonated with that as a trumpet player before a bass player. So yeah, you're doing a little run here. Got to grab the double stop harmonics. The 4th fret ones are a little before the 4th fret to make them speak. You want to pluck those down by the bridge to make them speak. And doing all of this at that speed is a true challenge, going in and out of these little bass breaks and solos right back to the groove. That's already hard. You know, that groove is difficult as it is. So let's keep going. Woo! Never gets old. The tone on this part. So back to that part before this, you know, Alex, you know, we're sticking around kind of B major, C major. I think there's some dominant 7s at some points. I'm not really tuned into the guitar part right now. But then he switches to a kind of a Phrygian dominant sound is what I would call it. You know, without checking every note, that's the sound it is to me. A Phrygian dominant, we're getting even deeper into modes here, and I don't want to make this too heady. But it is the 5th mode of a harmonic minor scale. Harmonic minor scale is a minor scale with a raised 7. It has that kind of Eastern sound. So if you played that same scale starting on the 5th degree of a harmonic minor scale, so you start the scale there, that is a Phrygian dominant mode. So we're in B, I guess. So let me go down here. This would be a B minor scale. This would be a B harmonic minor scale, so doing the same thing, raising a 7th. Now you play that same scale, but starting on the 5th degree. Let me see if I can think about it. And a Phrygian dominant scale is if like a harmonic minor scale and a major scale had a baby. It has the brightness of a major scale to me. It has that harmonic minor Eastern sound. He's kind of walking that tightrope of keeping it more of a darker sound and a brighter sound, and it just adds to the vibe of this track, not being dark, not being light, and just pushed in the more jovial direction by what everyone's adding. So I'm going to go back and listen to that solo. That's what I think. All those little variations Geddy does. Love it. So big. 3 people. I love this. So let's talk about the theory on that part real quick, and then we'll let this crazy thing play out. When I learned this early on, was trying to understand what was going on, trying to analyze the chord progressions, Analyzing them now, this was a lesson in how pedal tones can shape the entire timbre of a chord. Just a chord, not even the progression. So we're switching between a couple chords here, but it all is rooted on top of that open A string Geddy is playing. I assume he's playing the open A string because he's playing the synths here when he does it live. But it's changing chords over what is called a pedal point or a pedal tone. So one note that stays stationary and does not change, and the chord progression changes on top of it. So this starts with an A minor, then it goes to like an A7 with a 9, and then it does like a D major second inversion. So you take a D major arpeggio, you'd put the A in the bass and put the other two notes on top. So the arpeggio was originally, now we're just putting the A in the bass. It gives it a whole different sound, right? These are why inversions are very powerful. Same here. This chord sounds like an A minor here with like a 6, which is technically what it is. You can call inversions one of two things, but really this last chord here is just an F major chord, right? We're just rearranging the notes and it gives it a darker sound. So altogether, you have some happier major chords here, but the way they're voiced and the way they're inverted give it that kind of not too dark, not too light feel. Inversions are very powerful to kind of shape a chord you want to being maybe a different tonality. I really like it. Let's go and let this thing play out. This is what Alex does best. Soaring melodies, for sure. And as we get into this part, you'll notice the variation on Geddy's parts changes so slightly. That's what always drove me crazy about learning this song, is that you have to get all the little variations right. He kind of plays it different every single time, which embodies that jam kind of bluesy spirit that I talked about earlier. It's what just makes this song so unique. But listen, think about how the intro sounded and how it's going now. Slight variations that, if you want to learn this, are important to get down. That was relatively the same. This little part here, that little bass that fill there, just like that, is not happening anywhere in the song, but it's bringing back an old theme, an old riff, an old motif. And that's what gives Rush the prog. That's what gives Rush the technical finesse, that they just are able to do these subtle variations that just change the way it hits you, right? It's a little different before. You might not know why on first listen, but this is the stuff that keeps me listening to Rush. There's so much thought put into it, or maybe there isn't, and this is just exuding out of them naturally. Let's let this thing go. Geddy and Neil Magic. It still doesn't resolve. It wants to keep going to that same chord again. You know, this song embodies the spirit of touring to me. I first learned that this was the Morse code to YYZ, the airport. I later learned a bit more about Rush and that they have these little witty Easter eggs in some of their songs, and especially their live show has a bit of a tongue-in-cheek nature to it. I'm going to keep coming back to the word jovial because that's what I think of when I think of the people in Rush, not the music, just the members themselves. And I think that jovial spirit is what kept them together. But when I started touring, like I said earlier, This song always was kind of embodying the feeling of touring. And it goes both ways, right? And I think about this because it's tied to the airport code, right? You're getting back from a tour. And if any of you guys have ever done a long tour, it could be with any career field, but with music, you come back and you have all this kind of pent up momentum because it's like, what now? You're just left to your own devices. You've been going around the country for 6 weeks, 8 weeks, and then you're just home and it all stops. All the energy, all the adrenaline just stops. And I've always thought about this song in that way. It never resolves, just like ending a tour doesn't. You get home and it's like, you almost have this anticlimactic feeling. That's at least what I've experienced. But the flip side of that is when you're going on tour, it's unresolved too. It's crazy. It's like the intro of the song. You have tritones and locrians, and it's all creating this tension. You're going to start the tour, and you got to think about all this stuff. And you might be going to the airport in Toronto. That might have been their story. I'm not sure what the story is, but I've always just made my own version of that story and related it to my own experiences touring, that this song embodies the chaos, both of being a musician and stopping being a musician when you get home from touring. So that's what this song means to me. I appreciate you guys watching. Geddy Lee is in my top 3 most influential bassists of all time. And I look forward to covering some more of this stuff soon. I did the video for Free Will a while back. You can check out that here on the end screen. But thank you so much for watching. Give me a thumbs up, a like, a comment. I would love to talk about all the crazy stuff in the song with you guys. And please make sure you're subscribed. And we will see you next time. Whew, long one. Cheers.